start sitting up here and let Kevin sit there so we can hear him through the microphone when he's here. I'd like to have everyone's attention as I call this work session together, and before I ask you to stand for invocation, I'd like for Mr. Brown to lead us in invocation when we get up. But had some sad news. The city of Kingston yesterday, our planner for our planning commission, David Williams, passed away. So I will ask for a moment of silence before Mr. Brown says the prayer. Mr. Childs, you lead us to the pledge. Everyone, please stand.
Our Heavenly Father, once again we come to you with grateful hearts and sad hearts tonight with prayer requests. We ask that you wrap your arms around the Williams family and their tragic loss of David, a friend to everyone that was associated with him and with the city. We're so grateful that we live in a country that we can enter tonight with our flags at half-mast in honor of the tragic loss of life for the folks out in Nashville. We pray that you help our state legislature as they go through terrific times on determining the right way to keep our children safe, but yet keep us so that we still have the same rights as we did yesterday. We also reach out for the tragedy that happened in Rockwood, about 500 people there, for what should have been a celebration of the youth and the leaders of tomorrow, but tragically had one fatality. And just be with all of those people, and we pray that you will be with us as we try to make the best decisions for the citizens of Kingston. And as we always say, we give you praise every day for you sending your son to die for our sins. In all these things we say, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Do we have anyone here wishing to address the council tonight? If you do, come up to the podium, state your name and address. Anyone wishing to address the council tonight? Okay.
Yeah, my name's William Wilson. I'm a new member of the library board. I want to thank you for the lights. I want to thank you for the lights.
It wasn't me. It was a city effort.
I understand, but we went through and y'all did it. Thank you. And our little library is growing, folks. It really is.
Good. Thank you for being on the board. Anyone else wishing to address the council tonight?
First, I need to ask, is this the correct portion of the meeting to address water and sewer
Yes.
issues? Okay. I am Kelly Smith, 112 Bailey Road in Kingston, and am here on behalf of the property owners, my family, the mobile home park at 2715 Kingston Highway. This is in regards to the city sewer mandate that was discussed at last month's meeting, and I think the meeting before that as well.
The meeting before that as well, too.
I'm sorry.
And the meeting before that as well, too.
Yeah. We're here to request tonight that the council consider and adopt some type of commercial or multifamily plan regarding the sewer mandate that is addressed in Kingston City Municipal Code 18-203. Commercial and multifamily properties are not the same as single-family residential properties, and they should not be treated as such. Even the city's own rate and fee schedule has a separate schedule for commercial and multifamily fees as it does for single-family residential. A separate commercial multifamily plan could be implemented to allow owners and managers a minimum 6-month period that would allow them to clarify the requirements of the mandate, to ascertain the costs for labor and materials that will be needed, and affordable options that are available. It would allow them to formulate a plan to meet the mandated requirements, to develop a schedule for project completion based on the availability of contractors and materials, which are not always readily available. And it would also allow for any permits that may be necessary to be applied for and received. As you can see, a lot of this process is outside the owner's control. And even if they wanted to immediately implement all the steps to comply with the mandate, a lot of it just simply depends on contractors, departments, and other individuals. When multifamily properties are involved, numerous individuals and families are simultaneously affected in different ways. And in many cases, people who are already on fixed incomes could have to seek out housing assistance, assistance for utilities, and if the situation became serious enough, they could have to seek even as much as food assistance. These families could have to relocate. Our city has only limited housing for low-income residents, for senior citizens, and for mobile homes. Each one that I personally contacted had a lengthy waiting list. The residents at Mimosa Mobile Home Park, 90% of them own their own mobile homes. We only own the land. Relocation for those folks would involve selling their home or securing a mover to physically move the home and all the expenses that that would add. In addition, families who have school-age or preschool-age children face even greater challenges in this situation. If parents are forced to relocate, preschoolers and school-age children could have to change schools or find other daycare that is suitable and affordable in the middle of the school year. In multifamily cases, owners, managers, and residents all need time to adequately assess the situation and adapt to it as they are individually affected. In the relatively short time since we've received the letter regarding this mandate from the city, we've scrambled to get information and cost estimates. And a lot of you know that because we've made phone calls and sent emails and talked to many of you in person. And we thank you for the information you've provided. We've also worked diligently to inform the mobile home park residents and to explore all possible options for them and with them. We've seen the value of our property potentially decrease because if we sell the property today, a new owner is going to have to come in facing the burden of putting in new sewer and possibly water systems. And estimates we've received have totaled up to $200,000. We've also incurred a loss of revenue because we have had to turn away potential residents not knowing the certainty of the park. In closing, on behalf of my family, all the residents of the mobile home park, and anybody else affected in this multifamily situation, we respectfully ask that you as a council consider and adopt a multifamily plan to work in cooperation with, not against, the citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Bowling, do we know how many customers, how many multifamily situations that we have like this? Or is this,
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, obviously in the city, most would be apartment complexes. I don't know if we have any other mobile homes, mobile home parks that would be affected. I'm not sure, but most of ours would be apartments. But you know, we do have those and duplexes, things like that. So.
okay. All right. See, yeah, it's in the city.
Is that Sunny Springs or what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think he's on city sewer. I think so too. Yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, but yeah, we do. To answer your question, yes, we do have multifamily units of various types that are on city sewer.
But none that are outside the city that this is affecting, except Mimosa Park, that that I can think of, unless there's something on Galahar.
It's the only one that would come to the top of my mind, but
Okay. Does anyone else wish to address the
Mayor,
council? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What is the address of this property?
What's the address? It's
Well, 2715 Kingston Highway is the address of the front portion of the park. The back portion of the park is 121 Graynaw Road.
Did you get that?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So are the rates any different on these ones that we think we've got that we know about, or?
You mean which rates are you talking about?
I mean, multifamily or commercial? The commercial's higher, isn't it?
Yes.
yeah, and I don't know with these. You know, we have both. I mean, we have some that are on a master meter. You know, we have some that are individually metered, and I would assume all of yours are on a master meter, so technically there's only one customer. There's 2 meters there, so, but still one customer. So, you know, it's not, yes, there are multiple families within that development, but in terms of being a water sewer customer, there's only one. So,
So let me ask this then. If the property is divided up into 2 parcels and have 2 separate addresses, we have sewer that we're wanting them to hook up to at 2715 Kingston Highway. Is that correct?
correct. And
So if they've got a physical address of Gray Knob Road, which is outside the city and doesn't have sewer, does that knock part of their customers off?
so
Or both of their water meters through us at the 2715 Kingston Highway, I guess is my question.
well, I would yield to the city attorney if he may disagree with my thought on this. My thought would be that only the portion of the property that abuts the right of the public way that contains a sewer line would be included in this. If there's if there's a separate parcel in the back that doesn't abut, then I wouldn't think that it would apply in this circumstance.
If that was the case, how many spots would that knock off of not having to put sewer in?
There are approximately 20 spots that have water/sewer usage, and that would take off about 10. So it would make a significant difference and could cut the amount that we would have to spend from an estimated 200,000 to an estimated 100,000.
Okay. And again,
I would agree with what David said. By the reading of the statute, it is only properties that abut a public highway or street that contains a sanitary sewer. So if there's 2 parcels of property, then the front parcel that would abut Highway 70, I'm assuming, would be the one that would be applicable to the statute. Any other parcel would probably not be.
how would you do that if you only got one water meter? 2 meters, correct? front parcel and a meter for the back.
Right, yeah, the city made that change a year or so ago. We had 1 meter for years prior to that.
Yes, sir, what do you have?
I appreciate the opportunity to add a little bit to this discussion, and it basically has to do with the financial potential, I guess I would say, out there. And this is one place where we're not very clear at all at this point. What Kelly was referring to was a possibility of a couple of $100,000 in cost to the owners or the people that live there. Either one gives me concern, of course. But let's talk about where that comes from. We're looking at $42,000 approximately to come under US 70. And I would, Counselor, take the position that city might ought to be the one to come under the highway there instead of us. But I think that's been decided somewhere along the line. And that gives us concern, though, because we start out with $42,000 in the hole just to get the sewer line over on the south side of 70. So we get the sewer line on the south side of 70. All right? Will our plumbing system for the trailer park mesh into the city's plumbing system? And the answer I've been given is no. And the answer that I've been given, or that we've been given, is that it will have to be redone because we have a different system in the septic field line, and our pump up the hill away from 70, and the new system being gravity flow. If we have to go to lift pumps or whatever, you're talking about much more money than that. But coming down the hill is gravity flow and will have to be totally revised. Estimated cost, $50,000 to $70,000. So now we're approaching $100,000, and all we've done is redo the line to the septic field. We're also told that there could be a question about whether the water is an issue here or not. The water going up into the park off those 2 meters, will that continue to be billed to 2 meters? Or will we be required to put in water meters at every pad? Water meters every pad at another $50,000 or so, so I've been told. Now I'll yield more authority on water line establishment than I am. But there we are, we now have approached $150,000 or more. And so therein lies what we're having to deal with to determine what to tell the people that have lived with us some over 20 years. And it's a kind of a tough situation, and we just wanted to say, here it is, and ask for any help we can get. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council tonight? All right, we're going to our agenda. Number 4 is discussion of a request to close portions of Spring and 3rd Streets for a concert at the Jim Henry Event Center. Didn't see a date nowhere. For May 20th. Does anyone here speak on this? I got a couple of.
Christina Branham was supposed to be here. I haven't heard that she wasn't coming, but she was notified and said she was going to be here. They came to me several weeks ago, month ago, with the original request, and of course told them this would need to come to council. I know Chief Washington was. Did you ever make contact with them?
She already called me back.
Okay, so I know they're wanting to close the portion of Spring Street there between the event center and the bank, and then she also said a portion of 3rd Street, and it looks like her email says from Spring Street to Stennett. So,
I mean, I think we need more information before we can just can do. I mean, if she can be here, we'll put it on the agenda for Tuesday night,
Okay.
and hopefully she can come explain more to us about
Okay.
it.
I'll reach out to her in the morning.
Yeah, so I got questions myself, and I know other council members do. Number 5, continuing discussion of budget amendment 2303-1401. Ms. Kelly.
Yes, I included in the memo the changes that were being made, and really, they're just small changes. It's the surplus stuff you all voted that departments could sell, and we're just amending that money so they can utilize it for new equipment. I know my department, myself, we appreciate that because we've been able to utilize that on new equipment that we needed. So, and the other thing is just the THSO grant money that the police department just gets reimbursed as that money comes in. So, that's it.
Have any questions on that? All right, seeing none, we'll go into the next item. Discussion of entering into a contract with Rome County for planning services. This is something I've been working on with the county for several years, and County Executive Crestwell sent a letter that they want to do that for the different cities. Now that we've got a different light on the situation from what we had last month, I think it'd be a good idea, and Ms. Wright can talk to it more, her being the chairman of the planning commission, to get a planner in the county where it's easier for someone, a developer, to go sit down and meet and talk with. When we had the East Tennessee Development District, they're placed Knoxville, Morristown, wherever they're at. I think this would be better for us, and looks like it's just gonna cost us a few more $1,000s than what we had we're going to budget for to use East Tennessee Development District. Ms. Wright, would you like to speak on this at all?
I would. I just want to say I was sad to hear the passing of our city planner, and he did a good job, and that he was stretched really thin. He went from Morristown to Roane County. And so I think it would be better for all of our cities and our county, like you said, if we had a person right here, local, that could meet with developers or homeowners on any issues that they may have. So I'm full of support of this, and I hope the other cities also are in support.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Mr. Bowling.
Well, I mean, first of all, certainly echo everybody's thoughts about David Williams. He was a pleasure to know and to work with, and he'll be missed by all of us, I know. One concern I have, we haven't, obviously East Tennessee Development District isn't going to be able to fill this position right away if they do intend to fill it at all. That only leaves 3 other planners on their staff for all of East Tennessee. So, you know, my assumption would be that they would spread, David's cities among the others, which is going to stretch them even thinner than they are. So, I think along with the obvious benefits of having a centralized planner here in the county is the thought that, you know, the service that we receive for what we're paying will be probably greatly impacted by this.
Does anyone on council want to discuss?
This is gonna cost us an additional $5,000.
It's 4,000 to 5,000, I think it is.
$3,058.
I think
You what?
it's
$3,058.
Because they're going up,
Yeah.
in the same memo, they're going up 11,000, or they're going up to 11,942,
Mhm.
and wage won't 15. I guess my question would be, rumor has it that every city may not be agreeable. What happens if one city or more than one decides not to? I'm assuming that our cost goes up.
that the cost that has been quoted to us is with the cities that are involved now.
Which is,
Hopper Springs, Harriman, and us.
okay.
So, and if Rockwood was to decide to change their mind and come in, our costs would go down.
The city of Rockwood's planner was also Mr. Williams, so they are going to be in the same boat.
So they've got to,
figure something out also.
And
because their planner and their codes enforcement officer, they've got 2 people that work for them, besides Mr. Williams. They got a building inspector, and then they've got another city employee. It's a code enforcement officer / animal control.
and Councilman, you're right, and I would assume that if Rockwood was to decide now, given what we know, if they were to decide to come in, I would assume that cost would actually go down some. But we went ahead in the budget work we've been doing, in case this was to pass, we went ahead and accounted for the charge that Roane County's proposing right now. But if that goes down, we would make that change.
Anything else, Mr. Brown?
No, thank you.
Item 7, discussion of amending a subdivision regulation for the city of Kingston. Ms. Wright, this, yours on, and I'll go ahead and talk to it. This is something that the Planning Commission has gone through with Mr. Williams' help for the last several months to get these changes, and there were a lot of changes that made that changed it from where we were a regional to municipal. That's some of the things. And Ms. Wright, I'll let you talk on the rest of it.
Well, I believe Kelly sent a copy of all the specific changes that were made. And so they should be in front of you. And if you all have any questions, feel free to reach out. I know this can be another language to some, so if you have any questions, please let me know.
Mr. Mayor, just taking both these items together, the next planning commission is
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
So now without a planner, and assuming what David said is right, that it may take them a while to plan, and I'm assuming unless the county mayor's got somebody in line to step into this position, where does that put our planning commission and plots like this, and where does that put us with our planning commission today?
I spoke with the, and first of all, to back up before I get ahead, you want that on the agenda, item 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I spoke briefly with the director of the development district this morning. Of course, they're in shock over this, but they don't know what their plan is. So I don't know, Kelly, if we have anything scheduled for the planning commission meeting so far.
We'll have one item that I know of.
Okay, so
And when Glenn reached out to me this morning, he said that he's more than willing to help us in the interim until we can find out what we're gonna do.
okay, so we may want to look at that, because I would say that they probably won't have anything in place for us. They may be able to send somebody down,
Yeah,
but
they
they're
may
not
be
going to
able-
know
yeah,
anything
they may be able to
about.
send somebody down, but I'm not sure that
So
it'll
their contract goes till when? June?
end of June. Yes.
They send somebody, it'll be somebody to keep a seat warm. They won't know anything about our policies or so.
Unless we have.
And as far as this measure goes, this has all been set. David had already done the work on this. The meetings, I believe, public hearings dates were already set, and so the only outstanding issue would be any new business.
Right.
So does this have to be a ordinance or a resolution or 2 readings, or since it's changing the code?
And we got a public hearing for it also.
The public hearing, I believe, would be actually the planning commission. So I think it would have to be
Probably do the
Would it be-
public hearing first.
2 readings here or 2 readings at the planning commission.
From what David Williams told me, it didn't even have to come in front of council. This was something that was passed by the planning commission itself.
Yeah.
That is correct. This is just for prosperity to have council vote.
Yeah, I think it would be like, other things with planning commission, that council has voted to support or oppose, but it's not binding. So I would assume that would be the case here, but
And we could add it to the agenda to approve the changes to the subdivision regulations by the planning commission.
yeah.
And then in 2 weeks have the public hearing for it in front of the planning commission.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. And if planning commission has, further questions, they may want to delay this until we have a new planner in place, because I wouldn't think that whoever steps in the interim is going to be very familiar with it, but they may not. They've probably
I
worked
think-
through.
I think for right now, the first date is April 12th, and then the public hearing would be on May 16th.
Right, public hearings in May.
Okay, yeah,
And we can double check to make sure that this doesn't have to be passed,
okay,
you know, by ordinance by council as well.
okay, that'd be fine. Any other questions on the subdivision regulations? It's painful to get through. 8, discussion proposed budget for gateway signage, Vice Mayor Stockton and Mr. Bowling.
I don't know, is Vice Mayor Stockton on the
I
call?
think she's on the call, yes.
Okay, well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, certainly, I'll yield to her as well, but what you have in your packets is the latest estimate on construction costs that we've received for the gateway signage, and of course, the price you see here is for two, would include both sides, or both signs, but wanted to bring this to you, get your thoughts, get your, you know, what we'd really like to see is this board, this council take a vote to either proceed with this or not. You know, we're getting deeper and deeper into it. The plans have been, we got a 50% set, which is basically a preliminary pass that has gone to TDOT, and they haven't made the finalized approval yet, but you know, we already obviously have some money involved in this, and to actually construct the signs, going to have considerably more, and the Vice Mayor can speak on this. I know there's some of these things in here that will probably be donated, but there still is going to be significant cost, and before we get too deep, I just want to make sure that council is okay with us doing that. So that's why I put it on the agenda. Councilman or Vice Mayor Stockton, I'll let you have the floor, but that's basically what I'm looking for right now.
As far as the gateway signage, I know this is something that, as far as being on the beautification, the committee has been trying just for the last 6 years to get some traction on this, I guess, this process that you go through to get a gateway sign. And this is the first time we've been able to even have a company that would get us to this level, and us have everyone working together on the people that are wanting to be involved and help us be able to offset cost. So I have total confidence that the number would be actually less than what the estimate is. But even if you paid out the full amount that is listed there, that is the minimum amount of money when you're talking about two monumental gateway signs that are at the exit, which totally sets Kingston apart from so many cities that you, one, they might not have an opportunity to even have one because they just don't have the property or the location at the interstate, or it's just not in the plans to be able to do something like this because they don't have another large project going on at the same time. Because usually that's what the situation is trying to get them to take this on. So I think this is like a once opportunity that we just don't want to let this pass by, is my opinion.
Ms. Stockton, I know we had talked about this before, and I know that you'd said about a lot of this stuff that we would get for this sign would be donated. How would we go about that with what we have on this quote?
Well, the things that would already in the process of being donated is the line item on the brick, and also some of the stone that it takes with it as well. And then as far as the like the large stone that's engraved, or if you got the not engraved with the metal letters, you know, those are things that we haven't approached yet. But I don't know that it would be a total donation, but I do believe that we would have cooperation because we have several that are really close, and even companies in Tennessee or even even closer in East Tennessee, so we can work together with them on pricing.
Mr. Butler.
A couple things. One, I mean, obviously, we hope that, if this proceeds, that there are donations. We can't count on that, but we certainly hope there are. But, my recommendation, if you decide this is something you want to do, is maybe you look at it like we have other projects and not to exceed amount. This estimate, if you'll notice, I think it's from February. And it's just that. It's an estimate. So it could be that by the time this actually gets approved and goes to construction, those prices could go up. So, I think $69,000 was the cost on there, I believe. It may be that, if you look at doing this, you look at, not to exceed $75,000 or whatever the case may be, because we don't know what the final cost is. I just don't want you looking at that and thinking that's etched in stone, no pun intended.
Where exactly where are we planning on getting this money from?
I mean, that would be up to you, up to council, but, my recommendation would probably be from the fund balance, if we get to that point. But again, that would be council's prerogative to decide how to fund that. That's certainly above my limit, but that would be my recommendation.
And the fund balance is where the balance of the 2.5 million loan is?
Correct. But we've frozen that money more or less to have it available if we need to for the excess cost on the Lad Landing project. So, separate from the bond issue or ARPA funds, I would recommend, if you want to do this, my recommendation would be that it be funded out of the fund balance as a capital project.
Council, anyone have anything?
Yes, when does the TDOT approval process come into play?
So they're working on that right now. They've sent, it's kind of in two phases. They have what they call a 50% set of plans, and Councilman Brown may be able to speak to this better than me since he's worked with TDOT a lot, but apparently they send them a 50%, what they call a 50% set of plans. They look at it. If there's no issues, then they submit the final plans for their approval, and I don't know how long that process takes. I imagine right now with everything in the hopper, I imagine TDOT's probably pretty covered up, so I couldn't give you a time frame. I guess they approve it when they approve it. It's not much of an answer, but I doubt this will be their highest priority.
So we don't even have approval to put it there yet, so these costs may go up by the time we get approval.
Conceivably, yeah. I mean, this would be contingent on getting the approval. I just don't want. I guess the biggest thing we want to accomplish, yes, we need to earmark the funds if this is something that you all want to move forward, but we want to make sure. I don't want us to keep incurring engineering costs and various things, and then we come to the funding part and council not want to do this, and then we've spent that money. So, we're still operating under the funds that you have previously appropriated for the engineering and the survey and that sort of work. But there was no feedback. I know when they submitted the preliminary plans to TDOT, there was no negative feedback, so they were pretty confident in moving on to the final, sending them plans for final approval. So I wouldn't anticipate any issues with the site, but I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah. Is there any way you could maybe?
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, just as a side note, so all of council knows, if no one has had the chance to read the TDOT planning document for the widening of the interstate, they are going to be installing overhead signage for our exit, both directions. So I know they already have plans for new posts, for new signage, so I don't know how that plays into this as well.
Well, I would think that they would be looking at what we have proposed and looking at what they have designs on already, so it would not kind of interfere with either one of them.
Yeah, from a location standpoint, we certainly haven't had any feedback that that would be an issue. And, the thing with the interstate bridge, that is so far off that that will probably change 3 or 4 times before it's finalized as well. But TDOT could come back and approve this tomorrow, or it could be 6 weeks. We just, we're at their mercy as far as the approval goes. But once again, I just.
Would there be any reason not to maybe call TDOT tomorrow and see where it's at on their radar to give us a better idea? Okay. Mr. Brown, do you have anything else?
Yes. Back talking about the bridge, just so everybody's aware, TDOT has in the long-range plans, not only as Councilwoman Wright alluded to, the signage, but, the bridge is going to be reconstructed, and there's going to be 6 lanes from the Midtown exit to exit 352. So I don't know where exactly they talked about that. If you've got that many lanes, I don't know if they're even going to widen part of, if they've looked at it. The first plan that I saw did not show any work on the exit ramps, east or west, that it stopped on the apron before you got to that. A question, is this a company that's given this? Who is this ARDURRA, I guess it is?
That's the engineering firm that we use.
Okay.
And we just asked them to give us their best guess estimate of what the project would cost. So again, those aren't locked in stone numbers.
So this puts us on the radar at 69,000, that it's got to be a bid project to begin with. And I'm assuming, if I remember correctly, that even TDOT requires it to be a bid. And that gets me back to where, when this first came up, it was all, I understood, it was all supposed to be free, volunteer work, inmate labor, the vocational school, and that kind of stuff. And then the proposal was brought back that because TDOT, at that time, I don't think anybody knew of all the regulations, and TDOT, it came back and said, well, you got to have your drawings, you've got to have stamped drawings, all this kind of stuff, and we approved a cap of $20,000. And that was one of my questions I wrote down. You said we're still working off of that 20,000.
Yeah, that was for the design and survey work, and that will be expended. The actual construction, whatever our cost will be, will require additional funding. So, but you're right, it'll have to be bid out. So this number could go up.
So we're back now that we've got to pay for the labor, the materials, other than some sort of field rock that we may have and 1 or 2 other items. And we're sure this is for 2 signs. All right. What is the sign going to say?
The last design that you all had before you, I think
Didn't know we ever picked one. That's where I'm coming from.
Well, we brought a design, if you remember, several months back, and I think there was, and Vice Mayor may be able to speak on this more, I think there was some discussion about the color of the seal, of the city seal or something, but, there was nothing finalized as far as opposition to the design. Again, from TDOT's perspective, they don't care what it looks like, what it says. They're, as long as it meets their
But can
parameters.
somebody tell me the actual wordage that's going to be on the sign? I have a purpose for asking this. Kingston.
It's on the image, Kingston. It's on the picture in that packet.
Okay. And that's where I was
You'll see
coming
an
from,
example.
because they've only charged for 16 letters, estimated 16 letters. So that means Kingston, not the city of Kingston, not Kingston, Tennessee, nothing but Kingston is all it's going to say. Or we're going to pay more.
Remember off the top of my head, it seems like it said Kingston and maybe had the seal
Okay.
like round, but I'd have to dig that back up. That's not to say that couldn't
Mayor,
change.
if I can,
but
Yes, go ahead.
if I can speak, the seal is what the city of Kingston seal and then that way you only use the letters Kingston because of just the less clutter, neat, and that was the proposal that they had sent in the, but they didn't have the seal. They had a Tennessee seal, the 3-star. And so that's when we asked them about could they put the city seal in that spot. And they said yes, that wouldn't be a problem at all. And then that's where we are with it. And then they would give us some ideas as far as what that would look like, whether it be just the gold like it is in the city hall, or whether that would be in color where you see sometimes on different, I'm sure, letterheads or there's different colors that have been added to that still as well.
Thank you, Mr. Bowley.
And again, all the designs, everything that you've seen that's come to you has all been preliminary. You know, if you green light it and we get the state approval and we get to the point of procurement where we actually go out to bid, we'll have to have actual specs on the sign made up for companies to bid on. So at that point, that's when the design of this thing would be
Installed.
Yeah, that would be finalized. So you know, TDOT again, they're not going to care as long as the footprint
Doesn't
isn't the
exceed
same.
what-
They're not going to care what it says, but this will come back, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. Nothing is finalized.
Then does the clock start running again and the cost comes in for the plans? Or did the $20,000 with the engineering company include, I'm thinking I remember that it included the submittal of the plans to the state to DOT. Am I remembering that correctly?
I believe you are. I think it included the survey and application and the design, but I'll verify that. I don't
Okay.
know I don't know how much of that has been spent yet, how much is left. But we would need some sort of, because again, everything you've seen is what we've gotten, and they've all just been renderings. So, you know, we're gonna have to have something with the design and the specs that we can bid it out from. So there will have to be some sort of additional design document produced for us to put out to bid. So, but that should come under that. That should come under that original $20,000 that you allocated. If it doesn't, then that's another additional cost that could come up. So,
Go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
It,
they were both on
I-40,
both sides
of the interstate, coming this way and
at
that
the
way,
exit
they'll be
in the
see-
cloverleaf one.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. TDOT, when they get their approval, they will go through and make sure that we have the application to put these signs will not interfere with any kind of construction they will be doing through there in the near future.
But I wouldn't take that to the bank. I think, as of now, I don't think the sign locations would conflict with the proposed work. But again, you know, the bridge project is such in its infancy that it could change, and if their plans change, they're not going to care if we have a sign there or not. You know, that's so. really don't know what would happen.
So what do we need to do? What do you think? What action do we need to take as a council?
What I'm hoping you'll do is that you will endorse this with the understanding that at least based on the preliminary numbers that you're making a financial commitment to do this. I just don't want to see us get farther along into it and then come down to the ninth inning and council say, you know, we don't want to do this. I think we're just looking for something to give us the confidence to keep moving forward or not pursue this any further. So, you know, we don't have final numbers. We wouldn't know that until we put it out for bid, but at least we're now able to give you some preliminary numbers so you can see ballpark what this will probably cost and decide if this is something you want to pursue or not. Because, you know, we had a little bit of money we got from the Alliance. You put some money into it to get the design and stuff, but there's been no commitment to the cost of the actual construction of the sign. So that's a pretty big chunk of money, and I don't want to move forward without knowing where your feelings are on it.
So, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Bowen, how much money would you feel comfortable with this council passing? 100,000, 50,000,
Well,
69,578?
at this point, certainly that is a minimum. Again, you know, if we have to go out to bid for this, bids are going to come in. Council's going to have to be the one to award those bids, so that cost could come in at $100,000, and then it would be your decision. But at least, you know, if this board tentatively approves this based on the estimate we have, then we have the confidence to move forward. You know, it's too early to appropriate funding for it one way or another. But, you know, before we go through the process of getting a finalized design made, going out to bid, I mean, there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be involved. We just want to know, is this something that, you know, if there are 4 votes to do it, knowing that at the end of the day, eventually there's going to be money that's going to have to be spent. So
basically what you want us to approve the, I don't know if we want to put a number on it right now.
no, you don't have to. I think
You just want to make sure that this council is wanting to do this project.
give us approval to continue proceeding or not, based on the information that you have so far. So I would say, you know, even though we don't need any kind of appropriation tied to a certain dollar amount, you know that this is going to cost at least $69,000, probably more, but at least that much to go into your decision-making process of, yes, we want to green light this to keep going, or no, we need to back off this right now. We need some direction.
How time sensitive is this?
To me, I don't think it's any more time sensitive until we get the approval from TDOT.
But you can't get the approval from TDOT till you get the plans.
Well, we're, you know, and again, I don't know where it is in TDOT's hopper. I'll have to find out about that. But, you know, I don't want to keep calling. You know, every time you call an engineer, every time you email them, you're getting charged. It's like an attorney. No offense. You know, they're gonna get paid for their work. And you know, as soon as they get this in hand, you know, they're gonna want to start moving. And again, we just want to make sure if all this happens tomorrow, if it happens in the next 2 weeks, whatever, we have an idea that yes, this is a council-supported project, or no, it's not.
Okay.
Because there's no point. You know, we all have other stuff we can be working on. If this isn't something that you all, as a body, want to pursue, now that you know at least how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, and I guess that's what scares me, is that we started out with it being free, and then we capped it at 20,000, and now tonight we're talking about 69,000, but we don't know that it's going to be. That's just not a. And the way that, and I appreciate what everybody's done on it, but you know, I'm sure that engineers are a tenth of an hour, just like lawyers. Every time you know, there's not a phone call, won't go over a tenth of an hour, and they're probably $200 or $300 an hour. But
They'll round up.
yeah, they'll round up too. Yeah, but you know, I just don't know it. For signage, you know, we got, you know, at first everybody thought we were going to spend $7,000. That was free money to put signs up. And we spent that, so we really haven't invested more than 13,000 of city money already, because we had, I think that's right, Ms. Councilwoman Vice Mayor Stockton, I believe that was 7,000 or something that the Alliance gave us. So we're really just 13,000 into it as we sit here tonight.
So I would suggest that we put on the agenda. You word it how you want to.
Okay.
I can't
Yeah,
think of
and
right
we'll do that. And you know,
Right through
from
that, Kelly.
from what we're seeing with other projects, again, you know, you have a number. I wanted you to have something to look at.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't hold much faith in that. You know, the price of materials, the price of labor, everything is continues to go up. So it could very well exceed that. I just want to give you all sort of a baseline. And, you know, if it's one of those things that if you don't want to do it right now, you know, I'm sure that approval is, I don't know what the shelf life on a project like that is, but if you ever want to do it in the future, you've got the plans, you've got the approval. But again, before we really start spending money, I just want to get the feel for this council's attention. So I'll word that somehow to that effect.
Okay. Anyone else having discussion?
Mayor, I have a question for Councilman Brown.
Yes.
How long after engineering is complete does TDOT start on their projects?
Just to give you an example, the extension of the
Well-
widening of the road at the Roane County Park has been 5
Okay.
years ago.
Yeah.
And it's not started
Okay.
yet.
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Mayor,
Yes. Sorry.
before we go further on this, for approval, could Philip and I see some type of examples of what we're talking about on the
Yes.
signs?
Yes, we'll
We
make-
haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I'll make sure. Ms. Jackson, can you get that emailed out to them?
Thank
There you
you.
go. Thumbs up. We're good to go.
We'll get you that, and to give you an idea, and this kind of goes along with, I think, what Councilmember Wright's question was. As far as the bridge project goes, TDOT's plan right now is for that to, if it gets that far, for that to be included in fiscal year 2031 budget for construction. So that's not to say that that would be, 7-8 years that they'll have to go through all the environmental and other hoops that they'll have to go through. So yeah, that won't happen anytime soon.
Oh, I'm so confused because I thought all that had been done and that this has already been paid for.
No, that's been earmarked. But they've committed. I'm trying to think what their verbiage would be, but they have identified the plan. They have committed, in essence, to doing it. But there's so many layers that they'll have to go through before they actually get to bidding out the project and going to construction. So, yeah, the money is there, but it's not spent yet. So, like I said, it could be 7-8 years by what TDOT's telling us before they actually get to the point of spending that money. So, yeah.
Hey, can I mention one thing, Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Just to clarify, and I want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly, like on the statement that you made, Stephanie, about asking the question, I guess, as far as asking Councilman Brown, how long that was in reference to the job that they're doing on widening
Yes.
the road, not, okay, because just to clarify for the ones that just come aboard, this is not a state job. This would be
No,
something
no.
we would be doing. It only has to be state approved.
Right.
So,
Right.
I don't want to think
My
it'd be
fear-
5 years for us to build a sign.
No, my fear was that I didn't want to build something that could potentially
Be torn down.
be damaged or anything like that. That was my only fear.
Anything else?
Do we have a price on what Harriman and Rockwood paid for their new signage?
No, but I think we're out there. I think we're apples and oranges of what they've done compared to what we're doing.
Yeah.
They used their donation money.
Yeah, I knew they used that, but I don't know how much more above that it cost for them.
Mayor, if I can speak on that one, this is a brick and mortar sign. Those are breakaway signs that the city of Harriman put. Those are just like a post.
Yeah.
That is, it's not, of course, obviously breakaway, but they're totally different on the design.
A lot cheaper.
Two different levels of approval too, because those are just the right-of-way approval.
Right.
Be a lot cheaper to replace when they get run over.
Yeah. Anything else on those? All right. Item 9 is discussion application of an off-premise permit on 798 Galahar Road. So we're looking at the permit. You guys got it. Anybody have any questions on this permit?
And there's somebody here.
Yeah, no, I'm coming up a second. And Ms. Patel, you here, Nancy? Right.
Hasn't been open for about 3 years, so this is gonna be a great opportunity to, bring some more business over the road.
Chief Washington, do you have anything to add to this?
We were not involved in this process, Mayor. I just got a copy of this in the, email with the package.
Mm-hmm.
And following the application was the, background check by TBI. So,
And it says no criminal history's been found, so that we're good. You're good with everything? Council, you guys got any questions about this beer permit?
This, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
now this is for packaged beer.
It's going to be liquor, packaged beer, and it's also going to have a, baked smoke shop attachment as well.
But all you're asking us for is packaged beer.
Yes,
Yes.
because the other has been taken care of with,
ABC.
TABC.
Okay. Talked to the city manager earlier, and I think have you had a discussion with our city attorney about the number? You know, the city of Kingston, when we passed package stores, I don't think we have any control over liquor by the drink. Package stores, we have a 3-store limit.
That's what I thought.
I think Kelly looked it up a while ago, and I don't know if when they merged all this together where the supermarkets could sell wine and beer, and then the package stores, you know, when we passed this, package store for liquor was a package store for liquor, not beer, not vaping, not anything, strictly wine and liquor. So I guess I need to know if, and it wouldn't affect them, I don't think, because I can't, unless somebody can think of another liquor store we've got. I know of 2 right now inside the city. So does that mean that somebody comes in next week, we do not give them a liquor store?
Mr. Bowling?
I actually mentioned that to the city attorney, and I believe he's gonna look to make sure that no changes in the state law contradict our ability to do that. I know that that's been a regulation on the books here for many, many years. So just want to double check to make sure that that is still valid.
Yeah, and if you remember, us old folks, you know, we actually had a lottery and drawing of straws because we had more applicants for liquor stores than we permitted for when we passed it. This had to be passed by a vote of the citizens of Kingston, and in that, all that was part of it, that we were only going to have 3, and I think we ended up having 4, maybe. Do you remember? I know we had at least more than 3 because we drew lots, and one of the liquor stores was 50 foot from a school, and they turned their straw back in, and it went to the next person. And there were regulations and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if all that's changed or not. This is the first, knowing now that it's going to actually be a liquor also.
Council, I'll look into this and I'll have an answer for council next week
Okay.
at the latest.
Other than that, do you see any issues with the beer permit?
Not with the beer permit. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, that we're right when they come back, and if not, we need to change that when we change all of our re-ratification of all of our codes or whatever it is, if that 3 limit, and if, you know, and I could be wrong.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the state approving liquor, with that comes high volume beer. I think the only thing they need local approval for is beer under a certain percentage.
Yeah.
Which would be your more,
I
you know,
think so.
everyday beer, so,
They've already paid their permit fees.
All right, then we'll put this on the agenda for Tuesday night to vote on.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Bowling, it's the end of our agenda. Mr. Bowling, do you have anything else to bring up?
I do one other thing. As you know, obviously we're working on the budget, almost around the clock, but we're seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Michelle and I talked about, wanted to throw an idea out there to you, that we do the budget workshop perhaps at the conclusion of the May council workshop, and then shoot for having the first reading at the May council meeting, and the second reading at the June council meeting, so we don't have to have to avoid the need for a special called meeting,
Yeah,
so.
that'd be fine. So we can schedule that, budget workshop on May the 2nd after the regular scheduled work session.
And that can change if you all need it to, but that way we're just trying to avoid the need for a special called meeting in June. So we'll have everything ready by that point.
And can we move that meeting into the big room, the room next door where we'll have access to slides, in case he wants to do any slides and whiteboards and all that kind of stuff, just for that budget portion?
I'll clear room for you to have a place to sit, so.
I'll go around the room. Mr. Reddle, do you have anything? Mr. Childs? Mr. Brown, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. If you just take just a minute. I need some guidance as your representative on the 911 board. It's budget time for them too, and I have stressed upon them to get their budget set way prior to the city setting theirs so that we can include this. Routinely there's been a 3% increase over the years, or the last 2 years before that. We had 5 years of 5% increases. The budget committee, which I am not a part of, has met twice. They presented it, the first one without any recommendations, with 3 proposals, the highest being 18.5% increase, and the lowest being 3% increase. They met again the other day, and I understand that they have sharpened their pencils or cleaned the heads of their erasers, and that next Thursday morning they're going to present a 6.5% increase. So we pay presently I'm thinking it's like $76,000 or 73. We pay $70-something thousand for. You remember, Miss?
I thought it was like 78, but you're.
Okay, well, 70. I was just trying to get an easy number so I could cipher 6.5% against. So anyway, Penny brings in how much? 18,000. 15. Well, I was off there too. So I'd calculated that's almost a 7-cent increase if they go with that 20. I told them I would not vote for that, but I just want you all to know about it. And if you tell me not to vote for the 6.5, I won't vote for the 6.5. Based on what we pay, the county pays almost $400,000, but of course they've got more customers than we've got. What we pay to dispatch, and by no means, I still think even if it went up 20%, that it's still a bargain to the city of Kingston. By the time you dispatch the police department and the fire department, there's no way that we could hire dispatchers to cover 24-hour shifts for those 2 departments. As you can see in the packet tonight, looks like we're going to approve an additional county employee of $80,000 counting benefits. So the dispatchers down there now make around roughly, starting out, they'll make about $18 an hour, and the ones that have been there for 20 years or so, they get longevity after every year, could make $21, $22 an hour. But I just wanted y'all to know it before we go down there so it don't catch anybody by surprise. I'd already called David as soon as I heard the 20%, but you can think about it and let me know next Tuesday, because we've got a meeting next Thursday that this will come before the board.
They kind of really got us either way,
And some of it, I think it's even though they've ciphered it out to be, is that a good word, cipher? That's a Beverly Hillbilly word, and that 6.5. The original deal had like a 10% increase for the employees, and admitted just the actual call takers. But David and I have talked about this too. I don't know where it's going to go with the other budgets, but the county commissioners had a special called work session the other night, and they're talking about increasing the pay of their deputy sheriffs up to $50,000 plus a bonus. And I think that he's 4 or 5 short now. And I understand that 3 of them left in the last month and went to work at Rockwood, because Rockwood just increased the pay for officers. So that's kind of what's happening in the 911 dispatch center. They've done everything they can. They went from 8-hour shifts to 12-hour shifts to try to spread it out a little bit. Now that's eating up some overtime, so it's, you know, I'm world's worst about wanting to vote to increase something, but sometimes it has to. But I just want y'all to know, and I need some input as your representative.
Well, I'll say from a budget standpoint, we're prepared for the worst. We're anticipating the worst, but we certainly hope anything is better than the original 20% that you and I talked about, and we appreciate you going to bat for us and trying to drive that number down. So, you know, it was nice before that increases were spread over a number of years, but you know, we are, like I said, we're kind of stuck, and we just hope that the less they increase, the better. So.
Okay. Is that it, Mr. Brown?
That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, do you have anything?
Yeah, Kelly, I think, did Barbara get in touch with you from the library today? She did a walk around the building, and they have some mild wind damage on the building on the eave part of the roof. She was wondering if there's any way we could get that fixed.
I've already got a work order.
Okay,
ready
good deal.
for it.
Anything else? Ms. Stockton, do you have anything?
I do not.
Ms. Wright, do you have anything?
I do not.
The only thing I got to, you know, last month I brought to you about the National Fitness Campaign and putting that fitness center in at the park. We have been approved for the grant and got the email today. So we will be working, I'll be working on that to getting some more information to you guys and start talking to some potential donors and see if we can't get that moving along. Ms. Kelly, do you have anything? Mr. Belling, do you have anything else?
And you want that on the agenda for?
Well, I just pulled it up and read it. We'll talk about it here in just a minute. You can come up here with me and we'll look at it.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything else they want to bring up and talk about tonight? That's it. Meeting adjourned. Yeah, I just pulled it up. Dave, look at it with me.